This was first posted by Fred Kramer, 2125 on forum creepypasta.org. Don't forget to click subscribe. A half-eaten bowl of macaroni and cheese sat rotting away on the kitchen table. Outside of the mess in the hallway, nothing really looked out of the ordinary here. There were no bloody pentagrams, no dirty needles, no belt-fed machine guns, nor even a single bottle of liquor in the entire apartment. If anything, the place just looked sad. So much so that it would have likely driven even the most sound-minded individuals mad as well. I searched every nook and cranny of that godforsaken apartment, but didn't find a single thing. No human, no demon, no cat, not even a freaking ant. I was about at my wit's end. I knew that if I stayed here any longer, I would likely end up on the same floor as Claudette. So I left. Back at my place, I caught a rare glimpse of myself as I walked by the bathroom. I couldn't recall the last time I had shaved, let alone bathed. My face was scruffy and gray, my eyes sunken and bloodshot, my hair frizzy and matted, and my clothes filthy and worn. If I was a cartoon character, I surely would have had little green stink lines wafting off of me. I shed my soiled rags and jumped in the shower. The warm water did wonders for my grimy body, but little to ease my troubled mind. Like a dog chasing its own tail, my thoughts ran in circles around themselves. I was all toweled off and pulling a dull razor across my face when I first saw it. Out of the corner of my eye, in the reflection of the mirror, I caught a fleeting glimpse of something red flash behind me. Before I could investigate any further, though, a sharp pain tore through my chin, pulling my attention back forward. Shit! I cursed. A thin river of blood streamed down my neck. Relax, Patrick, I said as I balled up a tiny piece of toilet paper. It's all in your head, I assured myself, pressing the ball hard against my chin. I let out a deep sigh before peering back over my shoulder. Nothing, I smirked. I was officially losing it. After finishing up my shave, I threw on a towel and wandered out into the kitchen, putting on a fresh pot of coffee while I worked to calm myself. Caffeine, a shower, some fresh clothes, and I'll be good to go, I sang with feigned confidence. A small part of me believed that if I said this with enough conviction, it just might actually come true. But an even larger part of me knew that this was bullshit. I was headed in a dangerous direction and nearing a tipping point. Stress, paranoia, schizophrenia, demons, devils, whatever this was, it was winning. The coffee finished brewing and I poured myself a cup. I took a big whiff of it before venturing out into my bedroom. Rich and nutty, it smelled just like the thing I needed. I put on a fresh pair of drawers and swung open my closet door, only to be met with the crashing sound of shattering ceramic. Dangling in between my high school Letterman and camo Carhartt was a blood-red Louisville football sweatshirt. A blood-red Louisville football sweatshirt with thick black trim and a familiar burn mark. I froze. And by froze, I don't mean that I was just scared shitless, but rather I was legit frozen in place. Paralyzed. Like couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't blink, couldn't breathe. Hell, I couldn't even feel the 150-degree F coffee dripping down my foot. It was then that the banging suddenly returned in full force. Coming from every direction, it filled my tiny room with a deafening roar. If I could have moved, I would have run. Spoken, I would have screamed. Blinked, I would have shut my eyes. And breathed. I would have held my breath, but I couldn't. I couldn't do anything. I was frozen solid and at the complete mercy of... I awoke in a cold sweat sprawled out in the middle of my bed. A familiar stench loomed thick in the air. I sat up and rubbed my eyes. What the hell happened? I asked out loud. My head pounded and my stomach lurched. I couldn't tell if I had just woken up from a nap or a full night's rest. I could still remember the events of this morning. But now all of a sudden they felt strangely distant. I grabbed my phone and swiped it open. 4:03 stared back at me in big white print. Fuck, I groaned. I never slept in this late. I was just about to call my girlfriend when my gaze was suddenly pulled back towards my closet. Tucked away in the corner, its door sat wide open, revealing its inner contents. And hanging by there lonesome in the middle of it were my Letterman and Carhartt. No red sweatshirt was anywhere to be found. I breathed in a sigh of relief. I guess it had just been a dream after all. An incoming text rattled my phone. It was from my Uncle Jim, my mother's brother and the current owner of my apartment building. Hey Pat, got some bad news. Claudette passed away last night. I'm going to swing by tomorrow and start cleaning up. You free to help? A frown creased my face. A second text came through. This one from an unknown number with a 504 area code. Hey lion. A lump began to form in the back of my throat. A third came through. Look at his eyes. A fourth. That ain't you. I could feel my throat starting to close. There was no way it was her. Even if Uncle Jim was wrong, I knew she wouldn't have access to a phone. Cell phones are strictly prohibited in psych wards, and there was no way she was out already. Someone had to be messing with me. It was the only explanation. Who is fucking with me? I exploded. I don't know where it came from, but a blind rage suddenly tore through me. Huh, motherfucker. My face flushed. I am not crazy. The veins in my neck began to quiver. You hear me? My vision blurred. Fuck! I opened my mouth to issue one last forceful proclamation, but was immediately met with. It was pitch dark by the time I finally awoke. My sheets were now soaked, and my mind was coated in a dreadful fuzziness. What is happening to me? I cried. Thick tears began to well up in my eyes. A single bang rang out. Something was wrong. Very wrong. A second bang rang out. I needed help. Serious help. A third. By this point, I was laughing hysterically. The line between fact and fiction had grown so blurred that I felt like laughter was my only remaining defense. Well, that and one other thing, but I wasn't quite there yet. So instead, I picked up my phone and dialed. 911. What's the address of your emergency? A hollow voice croaked. I wet my lips. 525 Secretary Fraser Street, I said. A fourth bang rang out. Only this time it sounded like it was coming through the phone. A fifth bang. Tears began to stream down my face. A sixth. My mind began to crack. A seventh. No, I pleaded. An eighth. A hollow cackle spurted from the other side of the line before one last phrase was uttered. C'est un diable. And with this, my mind finally went. The few remaining shreds of sanity that I had so desperately held on to were pulverized into 1,000 tiny little pieces. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in my life, I wished I was dead. It was the faint scent of lavender of all things that ended up bringing me back around. I opened my eyes expecting to find myself back in bed, stuck in the same fucked up version of Groundhog Day, but instead was met with perhaps the most bizarre spectacle I had ever seen. Standing before me was me, roughly 4 foot tall and clad in a blood-red Louisville football sweatshirt with black trim and a burn mark right over the Lou was me. Only this me wasn't the same me that I had seen in the mirror earlier, nor was it even the same one that I remembered seeing over the course of the past 15 years. Rather, this was the me that obsessively read comic books, ate Doritos for dinner, and struggled with multiplication tables. This was the me that had yet to be kissed, yet to get drunk, and yet to be sullied by the crushing realities of life. This was 8-year-old me. I stared at myself with dumbstruck eyes for what felt like hours. This was beyond crazy. This was beyond logical. This was pure lunacy. If it wasn't for my eyes, I probably would have been scared shitless. But just like my grandfather's, they expressed an ethereal sense of warmth that instantly melted my worries and wrapped me in a euphoric sense of love. One that echoed the sheer pureness of youth. With trembling hands, I reached out to touch me. A part of me was hoping to feel something, to know that such a purity could actually still exist. But another part of me was hoping to feel nothing because I knew that if I did, life would never be the same. My fingers connected and were met with soft, warm skin. Like a shot of good coke straight to the dome, it filled me with an ecstatic sense of ecstasy. One that was so strong that I could have been standing in the selection line at Auschwitz and still been on cloud 9. I leaned in to embrace myself. This was it. I was finally getting the hug I wanted, the hug I so desperately needed. But right as I felt my childish arms lock around me, I saw it. The warmth that had lulled me into this vulnerable state of trust was snuffed out right before my eyes and quickly replaced by a haunting sense of nothingness. The same haunting sense of nothingness that I had seen in Claudette. I tried to break free, but it was no use. The harder I fought, the tighter my arms held. I was stuck, forced to gaze into the depths of my own crushing nothingness for the rest of eternity. So I gave up. The months of unending stress, the days of psychological torture, and the complete utter lack of hope had finally done it. It had broken me for good. So with a rare calmness, I grabbed the 9mm from my nightstand, put the barrel in my mouth, and pulled the trigger. Tonight, on WLKY 32, a rash of unexplained deaths that rocked the small town of Whitesburg can finally be laid to rest as investigators have uncovered a methamphetamine manufacturing lab in the downstairs unit of a local apartment building. Located in the 500 block of Secretary Fraser Street, the building experienced 2 suspicious deaths in the span of 48 hours, prompting a thorough investigation by local authorities. A spokesperson from the Letcher County Sheriff's Office stated that a search warrant conducted late last night revealed the illegal narcotics lab as well as an indoor generator that was being used to power the operation. Investigators believe that the generator's toxic fumes leaked into the building's upstairs apartments and played a major role in the tragic deaths of 2 of its occupants. No arrests have been made at this point. Officials are asking the public's help and identify a person of interest. Last seen leaving the apartment in question, witnesses described the suspect as a young male anywhere between 4 and 5 foot tall and wearing a blood-red Louisville football sweatshirt with thick black trim and a burn mark over the Lou. If you or anyone you know has any information regarding the matter, please call our Crime Stoppers number at 502-893-3671.